the most dangerous wars. I think that a lot of what's happening here is divide and conquer, right? So you can give somebody an enemy to point to and divide the population, when in reality, I believe so strongly that we need to come together. It's the central bankers, it's the governments, it's the one percenters that want to control everything. They're really the enemies, but they have to get us fighting each other because it just makes it easier to do it.
Lynette Zhang delves into the intricate relationship between currency transitions and geopolitical dynamics. As she unpacks the ongoing proxy wars and their significance in the broader global context, Zhang suggests that these conflicts, whether visible on the ground or concealed within cyberspace, play a crucial role in shaping our economic landscape. By examining the implications of such geopolitical events on inflation and debt justification, Zhang offers valuable insights into the complex interplay between finance and politics on a global scale. So, don't go anywhere, and let's listen to her.
Well, there's a level that's trending toward geopolitics because this is really one of the things that you see 100% of the time when we're transitioning from one currency system to another currency system. And, I feel as if there are a lot of proxy wars that are happening, where even though it's Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Hamas, I feel like those are proxies for the rest of the world. So and these are the wars that we can see. Geopolitically, I think the more dangerous wars are actually happening in cyberspace that we can't see. But I feel that they need the visibility of the boots on the ground wars, because that's what people see, and they want that noticeable. So there's a lot that's going on in there, and I think that could definitely spread even further, so that we have these global hotspots all over the world. Yeah, it's definitely something, and that justifies inflation. It justifies a lot. It justifies a lot. Well, after all, we have to create these. There's two types of debt. There is debt that repays itself, so self-liquidating debt. So you go out, you open a business, you borrow money to do it, but you're generating income and that pays the debt off. And then there's non-self-liquidating debt. And that's what governments do when they go to war. They build a bomb, they blow it up, and you're never going to recover that. And so that actually justifies the inflation that they call as sticky. And even when the war in Ukraine and Russia first started, then that was why food was going up. So that's what I mean by justifying a lot of different things that governments and central banks do. In the meantime, they're all buying gold hand over fist as much as they can get. Yeah, you could control energy, you can control the communications, and it's not visible until suddenly it's visible. See it coming, and I think that's really where the most dangerous wars. I think that a lot of what's happening here is divide and conquer, right? So you can give somebody an enemy to point to and divide the population, when in reality, I believe so strongly that we need to come together, because we're not the enemies. It's the central bankers, it's the governments, it's the one percenters that want to control everything. They're really the enemies, but they have to get us fighting each other because it just makes it easier to do it. If you go back to every single currency and financial system shift, then there are these common elements. One is certainly wars. That is absolutely true. But you also see issues around energy. We have issues around energy. You have issues around civil rights. We have that. You have high inflation. You have issues around gender. Let's see, I might be forgetting some. But there are all of these typical patterns. And so while you're off paying attention to this, they're over here changing the whole system. But what they do on top of that is they try and keep things appearing to be as normal for you as possible, so that you don't realize that anything has changed. And then they give you like a bone, right? They let you earn extra money for a minute so it looks like really, really good. And then all of a sudden you're inside of the system. You haven't really protected yourself and there's no place else for you to go. So I'm seeing a lot of those patterns right now. But what about all of this sticky inflation, right? I mean, everybody raised rates. Didn't they tighten policy? No, they didn't really tighten. If you look at the financial from the Federal Reserve Education Department, the Fred, one of my very favorite websites, if you look at their chart and just in the search bar, just put financial conditions, it's really obvious that I don't know anybody's surprised financial conditions never really got very tight. Even with the central bank selling off part of the portfolios that they grew since 2008. So that piece is a lie, and why they're surprised that the economies, and this is happening all over the place, why the economy and different economies inflation continue to run hot. But what really is creating, I think, the danger in this really fragile global system is what's happening with the central banks and the decoupling of the central banks. And what I mean by that is since 2008, they used forward guidance to let the markets know that what they were going to do so they could get into place, but they were working in a very synchronized way. It's not so synchronized anymore. And it isn't just the emerging markets to the advanced economies. You saw Switzerland decouple from the rest of the advanced economies by lowering their rates, right? Now, is the euro also going to lower the rates? When is the US going to lower their rates? None of this is going to help inflation get better because they just don't know how to stop doing this. They're at the end of the cycle. It's all that they really have. And what we've seen historically is that they lower rates to inspire people to borrow and spend, and they raise the rates when they want people to borrow less and spend less. But you get to a saturation point with this massive debt wall that we're already walking through. So many people think, so that's something that's going to happen. It might happen. It might not. No. It is happening. We just really are not able to see, like the stuff that's happening in cyberspace. We can't see what's happening with the derivative bomb, that debt bomb that's beneath the surface, that is controlled and determined whether or not there's a default by those that create this garbage. And I think that's a thing that makes me the most nervous, is how much danger is actually hidden so that it's hard to actually get into position, since so many people think, well, I'll be able to do that right before. Well, all of those things that we were talking about are all the red flag signals. Now, if we want to get currency specific, I think a great example is what's happening in Japan. It's come full circle. Since we went into the new system back in the 70s and 80s, the yen to the dollar has come full circle. And, and look at all of the alphabet soup that Japan did to try and control their economy and their system, including buying up all of their stocks, or not all of them, but pretty darn close to all of them and all of their bonds. So we're looking at manipulation at the highest order, and definitely the Japanese yen. And I'm also looking at the Swiss franc, right? But of course, any currency is relative to another currency. So if you're looking at, Argentina, for example, they think that the dollar is really strong, and it is relative to their peso. But it's losing value very rapidly. If, again, going back to the Fred, probably a little bit more honest than ever you're going to get coming out of their mouths, meaning central banks' mouths, There's, you just go in the search bar, put purchasing power of the consumer dollar, and you're going to see that it has been on a really rapid race to zero. And the only reason why it's not at zero now is probably funny accounting tricks, and the public still has confidence. But that is dwindling. And I'm very uncomfortable with seeing the decoupling of what were synchronized central banks to desynchronized central banks, because I think we'll see a lot more chaos and a lot bigger crisis.
Don't forget to engage with our content by liking, sharing, and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video informative, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more insightful discussions. Your support helps us continue to bring you valuable content. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay connected for future updates.